Ken Hill Coaching, Ridiculous Racing. And I've had, through the podcast, a lot of requests on either the iDrill, which we have a video out for, or I've had requests for reference points. And so I want to spend the time today to kind of go over reference points, talk about what they are, how long we should be looking at them, and hopefully that's going to help you in your writing a little bit. So one of the things that we hear a lot in our writing is hey, get your eyes up, look ahead. Okay, that's wonderful. Well, what should I be looking at? Or we also have read, or other people have said, only look in your peripheral vision, right? You should only be looking in your periphery and see everything. Well, yeah, I disagree with that, because if we don't have intricate focus on a specific reference point, then we're not able to react to it. So what we're going to go over today is our reference points, and we're going to go over what they are, how long you should look at them, and then ultimately how that ends up making a segment for you. So there's 5 reference points that we're concerned with, and the 5 things that you should be focused on when you're writing. And we're going to say them in a very specific order because they all stem off of these. 5 reference points are your exit apex, your entry apex, your slowest point of the corner, or where you're going to release the brake, your turn-in point, and then where you apply the brakes. Those are the 5 reference points that we're concerned with. Those are the 5 things that we want you looking at and want you focused at. So those first 3 reference points, right? The exit apex, the entry apex, and the slowest point of the corner. Those are fixed. Those are fixed items. The turn-in point in your brake application, you will have a reference for those, but that reference is going to be adjustable. So you may have a specific reference for it, but you may adjust where you're at on that reference, because as your speed changes, or the bike you're on changes, or your grip level changes, then your point in time is going to change there as well. So the first 3 are fixed. The last 2 are more adjustable. So here's how that looks. And the way that it looks is like this. So we're here at Thunder Hill. We've got a track map up at Thunder Hill, and we'll use turn 14 and 15 as an example here. So when we look at turn 14, we'll start it backwards. So a great exit reference point here at Thunder Hill is we've got some blue paint out here, we've got a curb right here, and we've got some dots with some slashes on it, and where the paint goes solid is a great exit reference point. So because think about it, that's what tells us where our entry apex is. So everything stems back off of this. This is a fixed point. Our entry apex then is a fixed point. And then our slowest point of the corner, or where we release the brakes, is right down here. And it just happens to coincide with the curbing down here as well. So we've got some great points here, the end of the curb here where the blue is. We've got just about the end of the curb for the apex, and about the beginning of the curb for the brake release point. So those 3 references are going to stay fixed. Our turn-in reference, right? So we have some turn-in references here, whether they're, in this case, there's some dashes here on the track. For turn-in, they coincide with car brake marker points. A great turn-in reference there. So we've got some dotted lines or some slash lines here on the track. So we can start to use some of those as turn-in points. And then brake markers, it's great. We've got this gigantic bridge that we use kind of as a brake marker. Depending on the bike, we might be braking before the bridge. Some of the slower bikes might be braking after the bridge, and at least we can have a reference there. So remember, it's a reference, but that becomes adjustable based on your speed and what bike you're on. Again, these references stay fixed. And then same thing with your turn-in point. So turn-in point, again, depending on the bike, the faster the bike, the earlier the turn-in is going to be. You may use this last paint mark as your turn-in reference, but you're going to turn it as you approach it on, say, 1,000, Or say on an R3 or a Ninja 400 or something along those lines, you might turn in slightly after it. It's still your reference, but then it becomes adjustable. Or let's say you have a tailwind one day, right? You've got a tailwind coming into this section, right? As you go quicker, you might have to adjust your turn-in reference for that. So again, the turn-in reference and where you apply the brakes, those references are more adjustable based on your speed and what bike you're on. Where these three references, the exit apex, your entry apex, and your slowest point of the corner become fixed. Exit apex is typically something off track. It's going to be a corner worker station, end of the curb, something along those lines that you can line yourself up with. Let me say that again. You want to line yourself up with something that as you go to accelerate off the corner, you get lined up with it. It comes to you as you accelerate off the corner. Something that you look at and you go, oh, I get lined up with my end of the curb, it's okay to accelerate. I've got permission to accelerate at that point. So we want that to be a fixed item. Same thing with the entry apex. Typically, we're going to find something on the curb, end of the curb, as you approach the end of the curb, something along those lines that gives you an idea where your entry apex is. Slowest point of the corner could be a lot of things. Typically, it's going to be a mark on the track, whether it's a seam, a tire mark, something along those lines that lets you know where a good brake release point is going to be. Turning point, we're going to find something on the side of the track. Again, it can be a brake marker, it can be a curb, it could be a corner worker station, but something that gives us some reference there. Same thing with the brake application reference. It's going to be something typically on track or slightly off track that you can have and be able to adjust for it. So the reason that these references become so important is these are things you should be looking at. And instead of having all these different things, yeah, there's other things going on outside of these 5 things, but these are the 5 things we're trying to get back to. And also, we realize that if we're focused on each one of these segments, suddenly it gets a lot of things out of your brain. If you're thinking about the exit of a corner, but you're still on the entry, you're not going to have a very good entry. So if you want to maximize and get 100% out of each one of these references, you've got to stay in that reference longer. So that leads me to the next step, which is each one of these references becomes a segment. So if I want to maximize my straight up and down braking, well then I'm going to be focused on my brake application point and that point between my turn-in point. If that's the case, that's the only thing I'm concerned with. At that moment in time, I'm only concerned with how I go to the brakes, how I build brake pressure. That's it. I'm not worried about my exit. I'm not worried about my brake release. So I can spend 100% of my attention on that specific reference, right? That's all I'm worried about. As I approach my turn-in point, I'm only focused on my turn-in point. That becomes a segment. And as I turn in, the next segment is where I release the brake, right? Where my slowest point of the corner is. So I'm only focused on that. I'm not worried about something. I'm not worried about the next corner. I'm only worried about how well am I doing my brake release? How precise is my slow point? And from there, I'm going to keep looking at my apex, pause. I'm going to keep looking at my apex until I have the direction that I need. It's longer than you think. So I'm not going to give up on my apex until I have direction. I'm not going to give up on my direction, right? Because that's such an important part of our riding. So you need to look at the references as long as you need to look at them so you can adjust for them. And it's a lot more time than you think. So I'm going to keep looking at my apex until I have what I need from it. If I need more brake pressure, I need more body, whatever it is, I've got the time and I've got the focus in real time to make that happen. Once I have the direction that I need, then my eyes can go to my next reference point. So having these references is what, again, that's what our goal is. And being able to look at them long enough so you can maximize everything from each one of those references. And again, I'm going to look at my exit reference until I'm at my or close to my exit reference because I'm trying to maximize everything with our exit. So having these references ends up building segments, and then within these segments, you can get 100% from them. So we've got 5 for every corner. And you're thinking, dude, I don't have time for that, right? Everything's going on. I don't have time to think about every reference for every corner. Well, every corner has these references, but as you get up to speed and your speed increases, you will run out of time for each one of these references. So what ends up happening is you're going to pick a single reference for a corner that if you get that one reference correct, the rest of the corner takes care of itself. For instance, here at Thunder Hill, I know that if I get my turn-in reference for turn 1, I'm good. I know my slowest point's going to be good. I know my apex is going to be good. I know my exit will be good. So my single focus is my turn-in reference for turn 1. Say for turn 3 here, I know where my break release is. If I get my slowest point of the corner correct, then my entrance has been good, and now my exit's going to be good as well. I know if for turn 9, if my break application point is good, then the rest of the corner is going to take care of itself. So we've got the 5 reference points, but as you get up to speed and you build these references, then you'll pick the singular reference form. Getting a track map out and drawing these references is an incredibly great way for you to get to know your track and to get your references. Are you struggling in a corner? Write down what your reference is, and I'll bet you don't have one. So get your track map out, write down your references, and then you can pick your single biggest reference. And I know, gosh, we're just not sort of tuned into doing homework or doing paperwork here at the track, but if you want everything out of your riding and you want to get that next step, this is part of what you have to be able to do. So 5 reference points. We're going to work on those, right? Our exit apex, our entry apex, our slowest point of the corner, our turn-in point where we apply the brakes. We're going to be able to make those segments, and then ultimately we're going to be able to have a single reference point that as you build that, it lets the rest of the turn take care of itself. So there you go.